Happy Tuesday, April 23rd, Spartans. I'm back, at least virtually. Today we're talking culture. Whatever time you have left today, after reviewing some notes here, you have to work on your norms experiment. Remember, that's due next Monday. Hopefully we can finish it Thursday in class. So you don't have any work for the weekend, but remember, it's due next Monday, and then you'll have the opportunity to present should you choose for extra credit. Tomorrow, you'll watch the first 30 minutes of the movie The Sandlot and complete the corresponding questions on the video guide on whatever time you have left after watching the first 30 minutes. Again, you continue to work on your norms experiment, and then I'll be back Thursday should you have any questions. Let's talk culture. We know what culture is. We've been talking about it for a few days, right? Knowledge, language, values, customs, objects that are passed down from one generation to another throughout a society over the course of history. Defines our expected behavior, tells you what you should do, and it justifies why you should do it a certain way. All right, culture. But here's the thing. Not everybody in any single society around the world is going to do the exact same thing. Culture has categories, different groups. I think your textbook calls them social categories. Young versus old, boys versus girls, whites versus blacks, Catholics versus Jews, different categories. There's a pretty good chance that you may have different thoughts, beliefs, feelings, desires than your parents. Pretty solid explanation of the difference between popular culture versus folk culture. Folk culture is typically traditional, older than popular culture, which is newer. Why? Well, because there's a pretty good chance, we've already talked about this when it comes to norms and values. Our norms, our culture will change over the course of time due to things like invention, discovery, and diffusion. Some people are adamantly opposed to women having a job outside of the home. Why? Because that's not how they grew up. You probably don't have that same opinion. Why? Because you grew up with women working outside of the home. At some point in time, we discovered or we learned from others that, you know what, our society is not going to crumble if women work outside of the home. Every culture has diversity, and it can come from a litany of reasons. Again, gender, skin color, religion, socioeconomic status, age. Really, the only difference between popular culture and folk culture is popular means the most popular, most consistently, most frequently exhibited versus folk or traditional. It's older. There's fewer people that do it. Why do so many people participate in popular culture or subscribe to the latest trend compared to folk culture where there are fewer and fewer? Well, let's think about this. What happens to people when they get old? They they either change or they die. It's really the difference in numbers. Furthermore, we have additional categories of culture. We may have subcultures or we may have countercultures. Subcultures is, I think, a pretty easy concept to understand. A subculture is a group of people that are members of the culture or members of the popular culture. They do what everyone else does, but they do one thing different. There is something that separates them from the rest of the group. Think about people who are ultra conservative politically. Think about people who are really into one type of obscure music. Think about the students you go to school with. You're all Assembly Spartans. Most of you went to all the Inver Grove Heights schools. You grew up in Inver Grove Heights, but there's one thing that makes you different. Maybe you're in the band. Maybe you're a theater person. Maybe you're on the hockey team. For whatever reason, hockey players always act differently than everybody else. There's one little identifier that separates you from other people. Subculture. I think your textbook gives you the idea, the example of Chinatown, right? Maybe that's even easier to understand. People that live in this country were all Americans, but our ethnicities are pretty diverse. I mean, Somali Americans are very much Americans, but there's that Somali component is what kind of separates them, or perhaps people who are Muslim go to fast food, go to the movies, drive fast cars, live in nice houses, right? Listen to rap music. They do everything that the rest of the popular culture does, but they have that one subset that makes them different. They're Muslim. They pray 5 times a day. They participate in things like Ramadan. You will have different subcultures throughout your life, and you can have multiple subcultures at one point in time, right? I'm a teacher at Simley High School. I have a shared culture with all the other teachers at Simley High School, but I coach sports. So that puts me in a different category. That's something I identify with. I will think, do, and act a little bit differently because I coach. I'm an elected officer of the teachers union. I have, again, shared beliefs, thoughts, and ideas with every other teacher in Simley in the school district. But because I'm a part of the executive officers of the teachers union, I will have different thoughts. I will have some different beliefs. I will have a subset of values. Or I teach at the high school. My approach, my beliefs, my ideas, my behavior is going to be significantly different than an elementary school teacher. Could you imagine me giving somebody a hug or smiling or having excitement on my face? No. We are all a part of the general culture. We all have shared beliefs, ideas, language, knowledge. But then we start to find ourselves in different categories that influence our behavior. Rich people and poor people, they're all American in this example. But I can guarantee you, rich people are going to have a certain set of beliefs and ideas that are in contrast to people who are at the bottom of the income ladder. There are different social categories. And then we have countercultures. I'm sure we can all pick out a classmate. Whatever anybody is doing, whatever the group is doing, there's that one person's like, nope, not doing it. Not doing that. I'm my own person. I'm my own dog. I'm my own individual. I don't need to follow like sheep going along in line with the rest of you. I'll be my own person, create my own path. And counterculture is easily described as people who are intentionally resisting what other people are doing. They are knowingly, intentionally resisting the behavior, the pattern of behavior that other people have. Regardless of society, any culture is going to have something called ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is the belief that your culture, your society, your beliefs, your way of life is better than everybody else's. And it has benefits and it has consequences. The benefit of people being proud to be American is it instills in future generations and it creates an appreciation amongst future generations for what it is to be an American. Ideas like freedom, opportunity, social mobility, great things to have. People will learn to protect that, to cherish that, to make sure it continues on. But at the same point in time, it has consequences. It can lead to conflict. It can lead to prejudice. It can lead to racism. And throughout the course of history, it's led to war and genocide. We are better than you. You are threatening us. Therefore, we're going to try to remove you from the face of the planet. Think the Holocaust. Think the Armenian genocide. Think about the United States government's treatment of Native Americans throughout the course of our history. Problematic. Ethnocentrism is not necessarily a bad thing, but it can be catastrophic. And again, it reinforces, going back to what culture is, whoopsies, the expected behavior and the justification of behavior. It tells us what we should be doing and why. If it becomes extreme, then we got a problem. But again, we do the same thing at Simley High School with these PBIS lessons. We want you to act a certain way. We want you to behave a certain way. That's why we are constantly putting out this message. This is what you should be doing. This is how you be successful. Trying to cultivate that culture. It can be too extreme, right? In this particular case, I would imagine there are some people at school that feel that they cannot be successful. No matter what they do, how they try, they will always fail. That can have damage. That can cause damage. And then we'll do cultural universals here and cultural particulars. Different societies around the world, every society has a culture. There are some things that are going to be universal, regardless of who you are, where you are. There are just things that we all do. A lot of this is probably biological. Think about childbirth. Think about reproduction. These are all things that we do. Consuming food, going to the bathroom. We all have common behaviors. But depending on where we are, depending on who we are, we're going to do things differently. We're going to have cultural particulars. If you were to look at some societies around the world when it comes to raising children, there are some cultures in the world where the child more or less sleeps with the parents all the way up to adolescence, up until middle school age. They share a bed with their parents. Conversely, in the United States, you're born, you may have a couple of weeks or two sleeping in a crib in your parents' bedroom, and then your mom or dad are like, get out. You're in your own room with your little spinny thing above your crib, whatever that's called. What is that thing called? What is that thing called that hangs above a, it's not a wind chime. What is that called? What hangs above a crib? Mm, a mobile? Is that what it's called? A mobile? That can't be right. Anyway, I digress. No culture in the world is universally similar, consistently similar, 100% the same and participated in top to bottom amongst its people. Every culture is going to have some sort of diversity. Yet diversity comes from a social category, gender, age, ethnicity, religion, anything. Because there are different groups of people within any sort of culture, we will have subcultures. We will have some sort of behavior, identity, belief that separates us from the rest of society. And you may very well have different subcultures that you participate in at any given time. You're a hockey player and a baseball player. You're a straight A student and an athlete. You're going to have different beliefs. You're going to have different ideas. Tomorrow, you're going to start watching the movie The Sandlot. If you haven't seen The Sandlot, get ready because it's a fantastic movie. The movie very much lays out popular culture versus folk culture. It'll even identify subcultures, right? There's different groups in the movie. There's different characters that make up a different subset of the culture. And there's even counterculture in the movie. So that's really what we're going to be looking for here while you watch the movie. Again, first 30 minutes for class on Wednesday, then you have whatever time left to continue working on the project. I'm done. Have a great day. I'll see you guys on Thursday. If you have any questions regarding your project, shoot me an email. Until then, go Spartans.